All right, guys. I guess I'm live now. I'm just checking if it works. I guess it is. All right. Just getting some tea and let's get started because it's freaking cold in this attic and in this country at the moment, for me at least. All right, let's start the show. Hey Bammers, how are you doing? Mustayaki here, the creator of How to Bam. Maybe some of you still know me of I Put a Boy, the manga I did, Manga Yourself, and stuff like that. Happy New Year at the very first, and I'm very excited to do this stream. Actually, I'm not sure how many of you are going to follow and will be on the stream today. And therefore, I have some questions written out already, and a main question I like to ask you to answer. But before that, I want to welcome all the new members. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. I think the last one of the Mailbag show was 5 years ago. And David, maybe some of you know him, a member of the group who also does the homework lessons. Hey, David. David is already here. He came up with the idea from, hey, when is the Mailbag show coming up or coming back again? And I was like, that's a freaking good idea, just to do a Mailbag again, but then in a different setting instead of pre-recording it. Well, have a more connection with you members and discuss things about manga. So welcome new members, welcome Bammers, everyone. I attached a question to this Mailbag, and maybe we're gonna do it more often later in the future. I don't know how it goes, but the main question for this live stream is, would you sell the rights of your manga? Now, it's a question which is very debatable, and maybe your reaction, for me at least, would be a no at first. But if you think about it, all the great manga artists out there, Kishimoto, Ochi, who's doing One Piece, Toriyama, all the greatest out there actually sold their rights to the public through the publishing company. And that's something to think about. Like, how far are you willing to go to have your story, your master plan, your life's work, your baby, and sell it to a big company and see how it goes? Because that's what publishing actually is you're selling rights. It's a bit like the movie companies, right? It's if you're a director for a movie or you're a writer or you produce it yourself, you're selling some of the rights to the company, and they don't belong to you anymore. Look at all the big names like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, you name it, all the big movies, the rights get sold by the company and it's not yours anymore. So, and they can do whatever they want, and they hire you to do the director's job, or maybe an executive producer, or maybe a producer of the movie. But that's a bit how it goes, and that's the same for a publishing company. So if you sell your manga, your life work, yeah, you will give your rights, but at the same time, you will still be working on it. So that's my main question for today. If you will still be the writer and will still be the artist of it, would you sell it? And even if you wouldn't be the writer and artist of it, and they would let somebody else do it, would you still sell it? So I'm very curious about what you guys have to say about it. So leave it in the comment section, and let's discuss this. And we'll get back to that question later on and discuss it more thoroughly, because I also have other things to say about it. But I want to announce a couple of things. A couple of things I want to announce is the direction of HTB, where it's going. I'm very excited about it, but it's not maybe what you expected, and it's maybe not as some of you might, well, maybe some of you are not happy with it. But let's see how it goes. My announcement is, if we rewind a bit, we went back where HTB started. It was in 2012 or maybe 14, somewhere, a long time ago. The main reason why I did the videos of HTB is sharing my knowledge. So I gain knowledge from having years of studying manga myself, and with that knowledge I was like, yeah, it's a shame, because I had to do it all myself. Back in the days there weren't a lot of YouTube videos out, and none of lessons. Yeah, you could do tutorials and stuff like that, but not that thoroughly. So everything I had to do was by self-studying, and that knowledge I wanted to share with other artists that don't have to experience the same struggle that I did, and share it with you. So that's how HTB started off. That's where it goes. And I didn't know how it would go, and I would never dreamt of having the many subscribers that I have now. It's not as active as it is, but there's still a community for it. And I know that if I would follow my track and I would stay ahead, that the community would only be bigger, and we would have more subscribers and stuff like that. And David, I'm gonna answer your questions if you have questions a bit. 7 years, or wow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's already 7 years ago. Wow, that's a long time. If you for me, it's like yesterday. It's always the things that I do is like yesterday. But to get back to the topic, like that's the main reason why I started HTB, and the reason why I couldn't continue it was because I just didn't have time. That's one, because things in life happen. A lot of things happen, and they could change the course and direction that you going, and you weren't anticipating on it. And the other thing is that my focus, and that's the main reason, is the focus wasn't there. Even if I had the time, the little bit of time that I had, my focus wasn't there. And what I mean with focus is that I wasn't even making manga anymore, and that that became less and less throughout the years. So my knowledge about making manga, the lessons I learned and passing it on, became less as well. So there wasn't a point in doing that all, because I feel like it has to be fresh, and it has to be out of passion. And if I don't have that knowledge, and it's still a bit there, it lingers in my head, but I'm not sure what the main question is that you guys have. That would be just making questions because I'm just thinking that you like that, or thinking that you know that knowledge or need that, but I don't know it for sure. So that was one of the reasons as well. So now to get back to the announcement, is that HTB, the direction where we're going is what I'm doing now. I'm self-employed. I'm self-employed since 2004. I started my own company, and that sidetracked in a couple of other things. Did some jobs in between, and since last year, I've been fully operational on my business, Manga Yourself. So that's been doing really great. And I've been helping companies since 2004, making videos, making graphic design, helping like consulting on businesses, on how to build branding, build businesses and stuff like that. And that's the direction I wanted to go with How to BAM a bit. Now, I'm taking the bit out of context, because How to BAM will always be about making manga and creating manga and how you're going to do that. But my focus isn't there anymore. Not at this moment. It will be, and when the time comes, I will be making videos again. But at this moment, at this time, I'm more focused on what I'm doing now, and that's making a business, is making, building a brand, building, helping other people with my art. And that's something I am looking forward to also sharing. So that's knowledge I have, well, since 2004, since I started my company. Had a long road in developing and gaining experience from marketing, sales, how to promote, how to build your brand, how to build your own, and combine that actually with your art. And what I see is a lot of artists, great artists, fantastic artists, but the way they promote themselves or where they keep their content and how they express themselves or reach to the people they want to reach isn't that very good. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is build up some courses where I can help artists like myself, like any other artist, if it's manga or maybe another kind of style, and help to promote yourself, or help to promote manga, or help to promote, well, your artwork and get it out there. So there will be a bit of sales in there, will be a bit of marketing out there, and all this stuff. I got a list name up. It's just it's still in the works. So these were ideas I had a couple of months. They were lingering a couple of years back, but they weren't that concrete. And since the last couple of months, I've been thinking about ways of sharing my knowledge in a different way, because that's something I'm really passionate about and love to do. And I think this will help a lot of artists as well, because if you're thinking about making manga or creating manga, or you want to be a mangaka, right? That's also got to do with selling your work. And that sounds maybe a bit vague and maybe a bit off, but that's what it actually is. It's the publishing companies are businesses, and they are looking for your talent and how to make money with selling their work, like their craft. And what I'll get distracted by my own video. I'm just keeping it up. And it's getting a bit, well, I've still got time. So I'm trying to calculate 50 minutes for this. So I'll try to run it by really fast. So if you're selling your manga, you're selling it to a publishing company. If you are going that route, you can also self-publish, of course. But if you are want to join a big publishing company like Shueisha, like be in the shonen magazines, then you have to sell your art. That's that's how you that's what it is. That's what it is. So for me, like I did the first prep video, right, for How to BAM, and probably many of you have seen it, know it. It's about prepping yourself of being a manga artist, being a professional manga artist, and what kind of struggles and you are facing, and also being honest, like, this is the road, guys. This is the road for if you want to become a mangaka. All this work you have to do, and will have to continue doing to become or grabbing that goal that you want. So you have to be aware of things that are about to come. Now, with this, if you're publishing, it's the same way. It's the same track. You're going to a publishing company and you're selling your art, and they like it, and there are editors that will help you out, and then you can sell your art together. So you're actually teaming up to get the best product to the audience, to have a better experience for the audience. And that's where things for me align up with having the mindset of, okay, I want to sell my art. I want to build a manga, create a manga, and sell it to the people. But in order to do that, I also have to gain experience. And my story writing skills aren't that very good, I have to be honest with that. They are still in the works. So I know a bit of how it works, but I'm still learning. And of course, you always are learning. It's continuously. It's a continuous process. But in the works, yeah, I wanted to know, like, how do I gain experience from that while still making a living out of it? Because if I'm going to do jobs, which I did in the meantime, I'm straying away from my path. That's how I feel about it. It was okay, because if you're having a job, like a regular job, doesn't matter what you do, yeah, you have income, you have some kind of structure, you have stability in most cases, but you're not really doing what you love to do. And that is making manga, or at least making art. And that was the thing that I was very focused on. Like, I was doing different jobs, and then I was like, no, this is not for me. What I really want to do is still create art, being creative and trying to sell it as well. Even if it isn't manga, which is still my main passion and my goal in life. But if I could still create stuff, if I could still draw on a daily basis, gain experience, then that would make me happy as well. Matter of fact, it would still be on the same path. It would be more on the same path than doing another job. So that's where I thought, like, yeah, this is something that probably other artists are struggling with as well. Other artists are also developing their manga. It's not going fast enough. It's almost a lifetime process, especially if you don't have assistants, if you don't have editors that help you out, and you have to all do it by yourself. If you could then still make a living out of what you're doing, your craft, experience from that, and bring it all back, it's like a filtered system, and you bring it all back to what you intentionally wanted to do, and that's making manga. It all aligns. So that's, with a whole long story, sorry about that, is my main thing that I'm trying to focus on, is like, how can I help you sell your art better, or how can I help you promote it better, or where do you start? If you've never been in a company, or you've never sold anything of your artwork, where can you start? Is my art good enough? And also, and that's what also I'm struggling with, and maybe you don't see it or know me good enough, but I'm a very introvert person. If you know me in social relationships, I'm very laid back, I'm very quiet. And that's also known for a lot of artists, right? And probably you are the same. As we are very introverted people, because we crash everything that we have into our artwork, and we're almost in this kind of zone that we have. So trying to get out of that and be an almost extrovert person, selling your art, being out there, publishing, promoting, that's a whole lot of, that's a whole different task itself. And that's something that I had to learn myself as well, pushing myself and doing that. And that's also something I would like to pass on. So these are all the kind of things that I would like to do in courses. And like I said, to come back, How to Bend will still be the channel as it was. Maybe there will be things, like I said, the courses that I'm talking about in there, because I think that's also related to a lot of artists that are in this group, they're in the community, and that makes sense to me. Maybe it isn't, and I will separate it and make a different organization out of that. But at the meantime, there are just not any how to ban material, where it all started in the first place. That source isn't coming back at any time soon. So, or we could wait and we'll see how it goes, or we can do something with it and learn from it with these new courses in the meantime. So with that out of the way, I'm having a question for you guys, and it's also I guess it's in a poll somewhere. I put it down. I'm not sure if it's on somewhere in the comment section. I've never done this before, but it's a question. What I like to ask is, would you be interested in those courses? Would you be interested in courses and help you selling your art? And let me know, just a yes or no answer. And I'm interested in how many of you are interested in such a thing. Now, to get back on in topic is what we also going to do in How to BAM is bring back some of the homework lessons. David is already working on that. And also drawing figures like these fellas that you've seen a couple of, I think a year back, or maybe a half year, 2 years back, maybe, I'm not sure. But I'll make pictures of them and we can do something with it. So drawing figures, homework lessons is coming back as well. And in the meantime, we also have some other things to share along the way. So along the way with this group, we'll try to be more active. I'm going to be more active, and we'll build up lessons and stuff like that. So well, with that totally out of the way, let's get back on topic, and that's the main question: would you sell the rights of your manga? Meantime, I'm going to read to what you guys were saying here. Hey, Eric Coppens, nice that you are also joining this live stream. Let's see. To draw more. That's where I am right now. I've been hustling to draw more and complete a work, but juggling a full-time career that I'm not passionate about. Yeah, that's exactly the struggle I've been I had. That's not a good position to be in. I'm guessing that many artists are dealing with that same issue. Is you're doing something, it feels meaningless, and your mind strays off entirely to, I just want to make manga. I just want to make good stories, and that's sometimes what I did. I did like mindless jobs. You can't imagine. I did so many mindless jobs that in the meantime I was writing my stories, or in the meantime I was planning out, or I just did even show notes for How to BAM back in the days. I was writing the weekly shows in between my job, and those jobs, yeah, like I said, they help you with your income. It's some sort of stability, but yeah, for me, my passion has always been drawing. So if I could still draw and make a living out of that, whatever it is, that would be good for me. So yeah, I totally understand you, man. Yeah, and David also said before, remember future mangakas, that you're not the only one who want to earn money from your works. Every publisher want to also earn money by your creations. So always remember to ask yourself, are my works good enough? Would anyone buy them if I'd sell to them? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Is you always have to think about the last goal. You know, your goal, of course, is on a creative level. You want to make good stories. You want to make entertaining stories, or dramatic, or you have to create almost a feeling, and you want to have someone else who's reading it have experienced the same feelings. But at the end, if it's not going to sell, it won't come in the mind's eye of people, and it becomes lost, and your work is for nothing. So Guys, I want to remind you, if you have any questions, just let me know and we'll discuss it. We'll have a full discussion. So that's a bit different from the mailbag that you used to know. In the mailbag, that was very, like I said, it was pre-recorded. I had the questions and I would be answering them. Now in this, in the live stream, you can ask your questions and we can have a discussion about it. And for me, that's way, way, way more fun. And also to connect with you guys. So get back to the main question. Would you sell the rights of your manga? Yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Would you sell the rights of your manga? Would you do it? Like many of us have been struggling, like slaving away almost years of story writing, having the vision in our head, like preempting the big scenes that you have, and working almost towards that scene. Like you have some couple of elements you have in there that you know, oh, those are going to be great, plot twists, and you want to work towards that. And at the end, maybe some company is very interested in your work. Like they're like, yeah, this is great. We want to buy that. And that's a bit like publishing companies, right? Like I said before in the beginning of this video, is if you're going to a publishing company like Shueisha or all the others, and you would sell your work, the rights go to them. Like it's not that they can publish their work, your work or their work if they buy it, and years later they're like, sorry, your work doesn't do good anymore. We're gonna cancel it. That you can continue that work. That's not how it works. They own the rights, so you can't continue that work anymore. So that's one of the negatives. One of the the flaws, or that's something that you have to commit to, or have to, how do you call it, think about, actually, like, do you want to do that? Something you spend years in making, that could be the case. Hey Seiji. Seiji, you're right. No, I draw for the fun of it. Yeah, that's, of course, you know, I'm guessing that many of the members here, I know that's not intentionally why we created the group. It's for very dedicated manga artists. But of course, if you want to draw manga, you still don't have to publish it. You know, you could make it for yourself, put it in a shelf, share it with your kids when you're old. That's also a possibility. You know, it doesn't have to find the mass audience. That's also a case. So if you're happy with that, you draw for fun. I do. It's something that I haven't been doing for a long time. For me, there's always a goal attached, and that suffers from a creative standpoint sometimes as well, unfortunately. I wish I had some more time to just draw out of fun. But to be honest, I'm not sure where to start with that. I have no clue. If I would start now, well, you have the time, just draw for fun. I have no idea what I would draw. And that's the beauty of it as well. All right, Eric Copland's right. It's hard to find a buyer without a full idea. What do you mean exactly with that? It's hard to find a buyer without a full idea. Oh, wait, you mean with having a full idea of your own, like complete your manga, you mean? Yeah, of course. Yeah, you have to complete your. Oh, wait a second. That's in this one. Of course, just get a notification like you want to leave this page. Why? David writes, if the publisher's offer would make me rich and happy, then it's worth giving a shot, especially that seeing my works in shops would really be enough to satisfy me and make me a complete artist. Yeah, true. That's yeah, that could be a thing. But what if it's the case like publishers, because they are not bringing like like bags of money, like here it is, give me the rights and get out of our way. That could be a case maybe for writers, maybe for the case of some artists. But what would you do if like a publisher says, okay, great, let's go for it. Let's go. If your work really would get published, like would you go with that? I'm curious, because I'm very curious if because I see very mixed reactions. Like many want to go like, how can I get my work published in Shonen Jump, for example. And some others are like, no, I want to self-publish, you know, which seems to be more the case nowadays. Like many artists, and are so like, it's like the quality of art is going better and better. Also, the art that I see in the group also gets better. So eventually, the quality gets better. And yeah, I'm very curious. What would you do? Would you publish it with a big publishing agency or not? Hey, Aaron Wildish, hi. Probably a while back that you said that. I think if you are struggling, it's better to seek a partnership than make a choice to sell a completed product for more, says Eric Coppens. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That could be a case. But yeah, then your work should be enough, because when a publishing agency wants your work and already says a lot, right? It says that the quality is already good, because there should be a very unique kind of element in there that nobody have thought about before. Would they buy it uncompletely? And would you not be completed the story overall, and they would like buy it even if it's not completed yet? Seiji Yoru writes, honestly, it's a gamble, and I agree. I already have a small audience on my work, and it's more satisfying that way than rather sell it. That's also the case. True. That's also the case. If you have already built like a fan base, they already know your work, you can build it up. It could, if you continue your work and you're consistent in that, it could only grow, you know. So unless you're doing a horrible work in writing or kill some character off that nobody likes, you see doing, then yeah. And Eric writes, it's a partnership, but realize that the publisher will edit it to their taste, which you may not like. And that could be the case. That's also something to think about, right? It's if you are going to publish with, or going along with a publisher and going into a partnership, or they hire you or something, you're selling your rights, you're selling your story, your idea, your concept, characters, everything. Yeah, they can change it, because at the end they are the boss of that concept. At the same time, they can make it stronger as well, because they have a lot of knowledge in the works. They are known for, well, the many successful mangas they've put out there. So and that's also a thing that I experience with doing freelance stuff, right? Like making art for people or making art for businesses, is I see a lot of artists in comments that are making work, and I also worked with a lot of artists, and they were also my colleagues, when they got feedback from like the customer, or you know, the people that you do work for. The feedback is not being taken like this is constructional. I can do something with this. in most cases, and I think that's something that humanity deals with, is like a resistance. Like, how could you? I've put so many hours in this. This is almost my best work, and now you're criticizing on it. I think there's something of a resistance there. So I can understand that. I can totally understand that. But there's a side in me when I get feedback, and whatever kind of feedback it is, maybe I don't agree with it. And then in most cases, when I do it and I change it for their benefit or what they wish, in most cases, it gets better. And that it's not that I see it right away. It's mostly after that, after a couple of months or maybe after a year, I look back at the work and I was like, oh wow, that's much better than what I had in the first time. So sometimes many heads or many people involved or some other creative that has more knowledge about it can help your artwork improve. So that's something to think about as well. So it could go both ways, right? It could an editor can help you out in those cases as well. David writes, before Shonen Jump or other publishers in Japan, please try to find any publishers in your own country. First, try to conquer the local market, then focus on expanding after that. Yeah, that's a really great point. That's also the case. It depends also really much on what your life goal is, but it would be depending on where you're located, because not every country has their publishing agency or has publishing agencies, especially not in the manga scene. Like here in the Netherlands, I'm from the Netherlands, like here they don't have publishing agencies for that. They don't have publishing. They have a publishing agency that translates manga from Japan and translate it and then publish it again. They have some publishers that are more focused on European strips, but it's there's not a real market here. So here I wouldn't say, yeah, it would be wise to do so. And on the other hand, in France, however, France is very big for manga. I think it's the second biggest country in the world doing manga. Also publishing manga, like selling mangas and doing everything with manga. So yeah, that's that would be my my second guess. So if I would publish my manga, then France will definitely be on my list to try and do it there, to conquer the market there. So yeah, I agree with you there, but it depends on where you're located, because I can imagine if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no market for it, that could be very difficult. And with the times changing as well, like Shonen, I read a couple of a year ago or months ago that they are also doing English or accepting publication from abroad. So yeah, with the whole digital world going out there. Hey, Darlene Garcia is also joining. Hey man, how you doing? But yeah, with the digital market, it changes, you know. So it's from where you are, different circumstances. And hey, we would be lucky enough if any publisher would go along with your idea, in my opinion. My own opinion is, if you try to publish it yourself, you have your own control. You have you're keeping your own rights. You can do what you want with it. And but that's for me. So I would still, if I make another manga and I'm still trying to build one this year, like I'm trying to start with another manga this year, then I would still try to see if I could publish it myself. But that's also, like I said, it's because I've been an entrepreneur for since 2004. 2004. How many? It's like 16 years. So that's insane if I think about it now. But that's 16 years of experience as a self-employed person, like knowing how to sell, knowing how to market, and stuff like that. So for me, it comes naturally. Like, yeah, of course, I'm going to publish it myself. But if you don't have that knowledge, that could be a struggle to do that as well. Good to know you're doing great, darling. Good to know. It's been a long time since you've been on the members group, or I haven't seen you in a long time. But I have to be honest, I haven't been very active as well. David has done all the heavy lifting a long time. So yeah, I'm very curious. Like, what are your other opinions? Do you, with waiting that out, like, would you still sell your rights? Is that something that you still are willing to do? Because, yeah, I'm gonna speak against myself a bit. It's like, I can create my manga myself, and I could self-publish, and I could have self-control and all that stuff, which is great. But if a publishing company would come tomorrow to me, and I would have a complete written out story and finished, and I would still be the creator of that work, I'm just going to partner up or work for them in some case, and they would publish my manga, I would probably do it. If they would help me set up all these assistants, help up with the marketing, they have a lot of knowledge. And I think that's also something that many people, artists, are not seeing of publishing companies, that they are a big part, got to do with the success of your manga. And that's really being underestimated a lot. Like, you can, there's there was an experiment, like this was scientifically proven. I heard it on the radio once, that successful artists, successful people, or if you're in a creative industry, that 20% of your success has to do with talent, and 80% has to do with selling your stuff, with how good you can sell your stuff, how professional you are in selling your stuff. That, when I heard that, that was like, are you serious? And then I looked at most of successful work, and I was like, yeah, they have a point there. And I'm guessing, like, of course, there are always there are how do you call that? Exceptions. Of course, there are always exceptions. But yes, I think that's about accurate. I think that most got to do with how you sell your stuff. And that's also why I want to build the courses, because how good of an artist you are, if you don't know how to sell it, if you don't know how to get it to the main audience, if you don't have networks, if you don't have, you know, the skills for that, or to do that, then you just stay in a little circle. You have to expand your circles, in circles you have never moved before, that never have reached the light. So yeah, that's got something to do with it. So I'm thinking publishers, publishing agencies are underestimated a lot. They do a lot for your work. There was yeah, hey guys, if you still have questions, I have to re-upload. You're pretty busy, darling. Yeah, I can imagine everybody is, right? I was busy myself as well, so yeah. And Eric Coppens writes, with the internet and my own background in sales, I'd likely try to tackle it myself instead of sell. Especially as a new artist who doesn't have the leverage over a publisher and would likely get a bad deal. Yeah, yeah. That's also a thing, that if you don't know, if you never published a work before, you have no idea. You have no idea where to start. You have no idea what if they come with an offer, if it's good or not. Like, yeah, the numbers they're naming, Like, is that normal? Is it exceptional? I don't know. So yeah, you have a point there. You know, it's you get something in your head. So that's also something to be said about it. Yeah. I also had one question just as a backup, because I always like to come in prepared. There was one question that was on on the How to BAM channel, like asked a year back. That's how long ago it was, and they were just sent in the comments, so they weren't like directly at me. So it's not for me to blame, because there are a lot of questions in the comments, right? But the question comes from Jamirio Adams. And he wrote, question, how do you do your manga plots? Do you write the script first or do the characters first? And that was a very interesting question, because I know when I started I Put a Boy back in, well, the concept started in 2006, 2010. I wrote together with my my brother the story, and then in 2012 we made it into a manga. My answer then would be to do the script first, and then try to figure out the characters in between. You know, like how do your characters engage with each other, and how does it fit with the whole story? But that was a bit naive of me, probably, because I didn't, yeah, I had experience a bit in story writing for myself, but not as much. So now it would be totally different. Now my answer would more be both in most cases, because if I would write a story now, I would switch up. I would switch between story and characters the whole time. But the main focus, and that is totally different from the years back when I started, would be on characters, because the characters are your story. Without the characters, you don't have story. So the characters are so important to flesh out, to know them, to understand them, to know the psyche, to know where they are going, to know their struggles, and then you can build something from there. And then you can build them also with each other, against each other, how they can process the story, or progress the story. Actually, that's the word I'm looking for. How they can progress the story together, and what other characters are needed to also help the main character move forward. So I would totally change it. I would totally do it different. But at the same time, I would also use, and he says in this question, write the script, but I think he means write the story first, like overall. And then you have a different way of storytelling and the story. And those are also two different things. Like you have storytelling on the way how it is being told, because you have the story. It could be a story. I could tell a story about, yeah, you got a main character, and then this and this and this did happen. No flats. But if you, the way you tell the story, that's also so very important. Is then how to build up, how to build it, enthusiasm, where to start in your story. Are you going to start small, and then, you know, you're going to expand much more, and create a bigger world. So I would use both of them. Like I would switch up, like start with the characters first, and how they are important to the story, and then do a check. And I think that's just something that many writers do, like many great writers do, in fact. Like always checking up if the characters are in line with the story, with the goal, the end of the story, the plot of the story. And also it changes, right? Because if you change the plot, you change the characters. If you change the characters, you can change the plot. So it's an in sync kind of relationship that they have. They are connected. It's all connected. And that's, in my opinion, how good story writing is. But maybe you have a different opinion about it. And let me know in the comment section, because that's why we are doing a live stream. I'm really curious about what you guys are all thinking. Let me answer, or let me get to the comments and see if you wrote some other questions. Aaron Wildish wrote, what tips could you give to people who are script writing their manga I don't see it being talked about much. Oh, that's something that I just discussed. Oh, that's funny. That's a happy coincidence. So yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's that's still, and I'm pretty ashamed about that. That's still the #2 main show that was about I was about to do on How to BAM, and that's where it all got stuck. Because for me, like, you can create all the things and all the manga and how you do it and stuff like that, but everybody can do that, right? It's like everybody can make tutorials about, oh yeah, this is how you align panels, this is how you create a character, this is how you make big eyes and stuff like that. It's tutorials, you copy paste and make it your own. But story writing, that's where it all begins. That's where whole manga building is all about. And that became such a mountain of a work for me. Like, how and where do I begin about explaining? Because I do know a bit about how to write a story, but how can you explain it to people without having context? Because I was writing iPod Boy at the same time, and I didn't want to give up too much away in the story. And that's something that I did need to show examples, because I needed some work, or I was using different kind of works which I couldn't do because of YouTube and their copyrights and stuff, because I can't get work from Naruto or stuff like that. But I could talk about it. That was an option. But story writing and trying to explain of where to start and how to build up, that's a whole different level. That's very difficult to do and to create and craft. But like I said in the previous question from Jamario Adams, it's like, yeah, I would go back and forth. Start with your characters. The inciting incident is also a video I talked about on a Mailbag show. The inciting incident is the moment the main character creates his goal. And the main character doesn't have to create it, could be the story, but it's the moment where you know as a reader, that's the word I'm looking for, that you know as a reader where the story is going, where it's headed. Like if you take, One Piece is a very, it's an example where they brought that in their inciting incident in the very intro. I'm not sure if it's the same in the manga, but in the intro of the anime, you get the whole speech, right? From, One Piece, I haven't seen it like years, so I can't remember the names again. But you got the Pirate King. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Like the Pirate King, he says, I have the One Piece, and everybody grabs it. That's the inciting incident. Like, oh, this is a story about the pirates, and this is where they're headed with their story. But other examples, if you go to Naruto, in most cases, the inciting incident is started in the first chapter, in the one shot, because it gives the readers the direction of where the whole continuation of the manga series is going. And Naruto is like, I want to be a Hokage, and you see that he's struggling with his inner demons, figuratively and literally. But that's an inciting incident. So we go, and sometimes, and many times, it happens in a prologue or an epilogue, however you call it, in the beginning of the manga. Like a sort of story that's headed, and it sets up the world, it sets up the characters, and then you take off your story. And sometimes it happens building up. But that's where you start with writing a story, having an inciting incident, where it's going, and the plot should always be like surprising, like the surprise element, just to have it in a nutshell. Because if I could explain it like this, then the second show would be much easier to make. But just to flatten out and make it real simple, like the plot should always be different than people intended. They think the story is going. So if you have your inciting incident and you're going to that way, like, oh, it's going that direction, like Naruto, taking Naruto back for an instant, he's going to become a Hokage. If you just would become a Hokage at the end, then it would be boring. But it needs some kind of plot elements that surprises you, I'm like, oh, whoa, this is totally different than I thought. But the main character is still he elevates from his character almost. He gains from it, and the story gets better, and you feel fulfilled. That's always the goal that you have to do as a writer, is fulfill the story for your audience, for your viewers, for your readers, because they invest so much time in your story, in reading it or even watching it, if it's a show or TV or a film. If they invest so much time in doing the story, and there's an unhappy outcome, and there's no surprise, or it could be very cliche, and it all falls flat. You know, you have to build up your story very good, and the way the story is built up, that's with characters, and that's why you need your characters to make it interesting, to make it surprising, to make it refreshing. So it's a long explanation, but that's a bit in a nutshell how to tips for writing your script. I hope that helped, Aaron. David writes, both creating characters is also an element of building the world they live in. It's a parallel development. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And Darlin said, I write the characters' personalities and purpose first, then I write the plot and world problems. Yeah, that's also a good way to do that. Yeah. Yeah, the characters' personalities become so much a part of the story itself. And where you're headed. So yeah, it's also a good way to do that. David also writes next to that, also not just characters and worlds, you also need to make the story credible and give the readers a lot of emotions. Then success is almost guaranteed. True, and you see that a lot with the Marvel movies right now. It's not about manga, but story is story, you know, and a good story is a good story. And Marvel is doing a great job in making their roller coaster rides, of having it so much entertained, like they're going from happy to sadness, and all themes come across. Like it's drama, it's action, it's adventure, it's so much things, and they know it to play with it so craftfully, so talentfully. They're really talented writers in there making those stories, and that's craft. That's craft on itself. But yeah, you want to have these flows. A book, by the way, if you're searching for a very great story writing book, I wanted to share it a couple of times, but I did not have the chance. I was searching it. I'm still searching it. I can't find the book anymore. I think I loaned it to somebody. I don't know who. So if you're watching and you have that book, it's called Story from the writer Robert McKee. I want my book back. But yeah, it's a very good story about plots, about structuring your story, and that book was so insightful to me. You probably can see it on Amazon. For those around the Netherlands, you got bol.com. It's on there. Story. I think it's something called Story by Robert McKee. Structuring scripts and movies and something like that. The subtitle. But that book, that was really it opened my eyes, because he is talking about your arcs, and then we have it over movies. Like you have 3 arcs at the beginning, middle, and the end, and then he's making dividing that into what's the word I'm looking for? Guess what S. I lost it. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I forgot about it. It's sequences. It's sequences, and then it's divided in scenes, and then it's divided in dialogue with beats. And the beats, those are very important. And I didn't realize that in many great movies when the actors are having a dialogue, it's always a negative and a positive, and it goes all the way, and the whole movie goes all the way. But it's crafted so masterfully. It's a good story, and that's what good story writing is. It's knowing how to structure it, is knowing how your story is being structured. That's with negative and positive all the time, just to keep you on your toes, to keep the readers interested, entertained, and stuff like that. It's almost time, guys. It's a couple of minutes before the hour goes by. It flew by very quick. I'm just gonna read this question, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Eric Coppens, right? I typically write out a losing outline first and develop characters on a superficial level. Then, as I flesh out the outline more, the characters tend to come out for me. I focus early on with deciding on fears, strengths, desires, and motivations for the characters. The rest works out for me as I'm writing and keeps true to the character. True, yeah, that's a very good way to do that as well. Yeah, it's all about, yeah. If you have to know your characters. If you write your story, it's all about knowing your characters. Like, know what they eat, know what colors they like, know what's their most feared stuff, knowing their conflicts, know what triggers them. Because if you know so much about the character and he's so fleshed out, then the story almost writes itself, right? It's like something happens and you know how the character is reacting to that. And if you get more characters and you get them all fleshed out, and then they build their world of their own. So if you build your characters and you flesh them out so good, then yeah, that will help a lot. There's also was a small workshop I attended about building characters, and it was about if you start a character, make them very stereotypical at first. So if you begin writing your characters, you have very like archetypes, stereotypical types, and then you can blend those with each other, like the really buff guy, you know, the really big muscular guy. But combine that with a really nerdish stuff, and you're gonna already a funny character. Because if he's a buff guy, it's very stereotypical. Blend that with something nerdish, like he loves 80s music or something like that. He's very into that, and he dances all the time when he hears songs like that. And he becomes very soft and smooth or something like that. Then it's already interesting. And if you get more of these elements and combine them, and especially if you find ways to make it fresh, that's how you can make interesting characters. Because if you look at the most successful characters, somewhere in them they all have something stereotypical, and it's just a combination of things they have. I thought that was a very interesting workshop as well. Yeah, just before I head out, the main topic, would you sell the rights of your manga? We've got some very interesting answers. Some of you would do it, some of you won't do it, some of you would only do it if there's a lot of money involved. If you're, and I understand that if you have a guarantee for your baby, it's like you're having your baby into the world, you brought life to it, and you know it's going to be treated well, then you don't have to take care of it anymore. That's like, okay, that's good, it's fine. But at the same time, money isn't always the answer, because they can throw a lot of money at you, and then still it would be meaningless. Somebody, I think it was Trey, that on Instagram he reacted like, from look what the Star Wars, look what Disney did with the Star Wars movies. Yeah, that's also something to be said. You don't know where it is going. The publishers can decide where they're taking your vision and they can totally destroy it. But they can also build something from it as well. Because yeah, the Star Wars movies, in my opinion, they weren't that great as the old, but I have no idea if that can be matched. But at the same time, we wouldn't have the Mandalorian series. I don't know if you've seen that, but I like the Mandalorian series. I also like the last couple of sequels, the last 3. But I didn't love them. But yeah, it could be all kind of direction, and what flourishes out of it is that there's a bigger community. It's bigger now. It's less nostalgic in a way, but it leaves room to have more stories about Star Wars at the end. So we get more Star Wars. So at the end, they don't damage the old movies. They are still the movies as that they are, and we have new content. So in some way, there's something to be said about that as well. So yeah, I'm still curious. There's a poll in here somewhere. I don't know if you guys see it or if it's still there when I close video, but I would like you to answer the poll. And for you members out there who are watching this video later on, I hope you answer the polls. There are the 2 questions. The first one, would you sell the rights of your own manga? I'm really interested what you guys are thinking about it as well. And the second one was about the course, how to balance a bit going for the future is, would you be interested in courses, how to sell your art? I'm very curious about that as well, because then I know if the courses, the target audience, like you guys, would be interested in such a thing, or that I have to totally bring it somewhere else. Is it something that you are interested in as members as well? Like, oh, I want to make my art. I want to still create art and make a living out of it and don't do other jobs. It's not a guarantee, of course. I can't guarantee like, oh, follow my courses and you'll guarantee money income and guarantee job in your arts and stuff like that. No, that's not, unfortunately, not how it goes. But I can help you a long way with that and try to get the best of your art out there. Like what makes you unique, what makes your art unique, and how can you bring it to the world? Where do you start? How can you build up from there? How do you promote yourself? Build websites, build a fan base, actually, because that's what it's all about nowadays. With Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, it's all about building fan bases and your community, and a bit like I'm doing here. So yeah, I hope you answer the questions there, and I will be back for more, maybe another mailbag next week. I still have to see. And let me know. Leave a like if you like this video. Leave a dislike. I don't know. But yeah, I am very excited, and I really liked having the chat in here, so I can see your comments right away. So I really love that. I really love interacting with you guys instantly, instead of, yeah, I have to read it from the comments and just guess how it's going. So this is, for me, it's totally new, and I love it. I really had a great time, and I hope to do more videos like this. So guys, that's it. That's the channel, or the live stream for this week. Maybe next week, or whenever. Just let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these live streams, and maybe I'll be back. I'm not gonna make promises anymore, because I know and you guys know how those turned out. So with that all being said, thank you for the very first live stream of Mailbag, and thank you all for joining. I had a blast. Thank you all. And I hope to see you guys next time. Johnny.